Welcome to Entanglement Radio, transcendent talk for the conscious mind. Join us for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science, new thought, and conscious healing. Explore the potential and infinite possibilities of what it means to be human with some of the best guests in radio. At Entanglement Radio, it is all connected. Now, here is your host, Angela Levesque, on the OMTimes Radio Network.
I'm coming to you live today from the beautiful foothills of the Rocky Mountains here in Boise, Idaho. We had a last-minute switch of guests. We were supposed to have Don Miguel Ruiz on the program, and unfortunately, he's suffering from a cold, so we'll send him love, light, and quick healing. So I have a fantastic guest. She's actually been on the program before, Lisa Martin Naimi. She was on, I think, back in July, talking about the dark, the light, and the void. And so soon as I thought, oh no, I need somebody to come in and take Don Miguel Ruiz's place, I thought, I'll see if Lisa can do it. And thankfully she could. So we are going to be talking about what it means to be an empath, empath development, and what role they're playing at this unique time in humanity's evolution. So we'll get to that in just a moment. If you need to get a hold of me at any time during the week, you can email me at angela@hestiahealth.com. You can find me on Facebook and on Twitter at Hestia Health and Entanglement Radio. And if you want to find out more about my services, get an intuitive reading, my inspired and empowered program, conscious weight loss, all sorts of things, you can find out more about that at hestiahealth.com. Well, next week, I think it's a fantastic show for the beginning of 2016. We're having Tony Burrows. He's best-selling author of like 7 books, and he's going to be talking all about intention and the highest good and the art of intending, which I think is a good conversation to have as we move into a new year, because lots of us like to reflect and think about what it is we'd like to co-create. So, as I mentioned, I have the lovely Lisa Martin Naimi, another Boisean. Keep telling you people, we got lots of great stuff going on here in Idaho. So let me introduce her. Lisa Martin Naimi is an empath, healer, intuitive, and channel. She is an Ascension Portal and remembers herself as the consciousness of the void. She is blessed to guide others on their path of ascension to come into full alignment with their essence, self-awareness, self-alignment, self-love, self-trust, and self-remembrance. So with that, I feel very honored and blessed to welcome Lisa Martin Naimi back to the program. Hey, Lisa, how you doing?
Hi, Angela. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am good. I'm so happy that you could come and join me last minute. It's always kind of an intense thing, but you know, those things happen. So I was so excited that you were able to just, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I was like, yes, okay, good.
Well, I really appreciate being able to come in on your show and have a conversation with you. And as I've shared before, Angela is just such a great person to have this kind of conversation with in this kind of format. She's just so easy to talk to, and you just make it really easy to be able to do this kind of thing. You make people feel really comfortable. So it's a great experience with you.
Well, thank you for that. Oh.
You're welcome.
So it's the beginning of 2016. Last week, I had Suzanne Michelle on, and we talked about, 2016 being a end of a 9-year cycle, and talked a little bit about intentions and stuff. So as an empath, and just as somebody who is a knower and a seeker, what are your thoughts, both personally and I think maybe planetary, for this coming year?
Well, when I tapped in and asked that question, I did feel the information empathically. And so that just means that the information is being translated through my body through feeling. And based on where certain sensations show up in my body, I've learned over time how to interpret or associate a meaning with each of those areas of the body. So when I asked the question about what 2016 holds for humanity as a whole, I received 2 hits in my body. And the first one was about self-trust, and the second was about coming more deeply into the heart space. And regarding self-trust, this is this has been a major theme for me for at least a year, if not longer. And every time I've talked about it, every time I've been asked to speak publicly over the last year, it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up, and not just for me, but for whatever collective it is that I happen to be speaking to or addressing, working with. The opportunity to come more deeply into self-trust for 2016 is it's really a process. It's a process of, there's some self-inquiry that goes along with this. And it's really a process of eliminating unhelpful external influence. There's also helpful external influence. So I would say that, what you and I are doing here, Angela, on this show, that would be considered helpful influence, hopefully.
I hope
and
so.
So we're talking about unhelpful external influence. And then also we need to resolve unhelpful internal influence going on inside our own selves. So that can be like untrue beliefs that we've accepted. And so beliefs would be something that we accumulate over time, and we pick up those beliefs from our family members, the educational system. Mass media is a major player in that. Also, our unhealed traumas. So seeking out whatever healing that you need to resolve those unhealed traumas is going to help you to be a clearer vessel, just so more of your eternal self can inhabit and reside in your body. And until we do that work, and usually it takes years. This is not, you go in one time and then you're magically clear of all of that. It doesn't work that way. This is a continual long-term process, healing those traumas, many of which have become unconscious. And that's just so we can, deal with the daily grind and with their regular lives. So seeking out healing for those traumas is really important, because until we do that, those traumas are unconsciously affecting our thought processes, our feelings, our behaviors, and the decisions that we make, the choices that we make about our lives. And so once those things, that pain and fear is resolved, then we can be much more clear about what is really the most helpful direction for our lives. So that's a little bit about self-trust. And if we want to, we can talk about some examples of external influence as well.
Well, one thing I want to pause before you talk about moving more into the heart is I think that many people at this time make resolutions, which I'm not a huge fan of, and I talked about last week. But ultimately, I think that any resolution people make is intimately related to self-trust. That's really what they're looking for, whether it's I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to start, going to the gym or whatever. Ultimately, underneath that, what they're looking for is to be able to trust themselves to follow through, to do what they say they were going to do, and to feel like there isn't this level of uncontrol in their life. It's like that 10 pounds is so connected to being able to trust themselves. And I think ultimately that's where a lot of resolutions are born from.
That is so perfect. And I just love the way that you take these concepts and you make them so grounded in real life, which I just really appreciate that about you. Yes. And so that's another place of examination where we can pinpoint the influences in our lives that are preventing us from being able to follow through with those resolutions. So when you get to that place where you fail to move through your resolution and bring that to fruition, all of those issues, whether they're coming up from inside of you or, maybe you have somebody in your household or a friend or something that interferes with your ability to or influences you to be unable to move through with that resolution, then those are exactly the influences that I'm referring to. So that's a place where you can dig in deeper and discover, well, why didn't I, why did that fear come up? Or, why do I make all these excuses to not go to the gym, which is a common resolution that people make at this time of year.
So we have a couple minutes before the break. Let's talk briefly about moving more into the heart center.
Yes. So let's see. Moving more into the heart center. I had a couple ideas all come in at the same time, so I got to sort them out. So the main thing that I'm seeing is around this theme of manifestation. And so I understand manifestation a little bit differently than maybe the common person does, or even the common person who's interested in New Age and spirituality, etc. I understand manifestation as just very simply spirit moving more fully into physical form. And so that is the opening of the heart space. That is the potential for humanity right now, is allowing each person's individual spirit, their eternal selves, their connection to source or universe, or however you would like to label that experience. There's more of that available to move into our bodies and physically inhabit this space with us as like a partner in co-creation. And when we have that partnership there, it really makes life, in some ways, it makes it easier. I'm not going to say life is going to be easy, but it makes some of those difficult decisions that we need to make, it makes it easier to say, yes, I'm going to go through with this and make this difficult decision at this time, because I know I have the support that I need inside me, and it's residing in my heart in the form of spirit.
Well, this is the kind of information you can glean when you're an empath. So I thought that was fantastic. When we get back, we're going to get into talking about what role empaths have at this unique time in humanity's evolution. We'll get to that and more with Lisa Martin Naimi here on Entanglement Radio. We'll be right back.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness and action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Angela Levesque. If you're just joining us today, we are talking to Empath and Ascension Portal, Lisa Martin Naimi. She's been on this program before, back in July, and so you should check that out as well. So let's talk about being an empath. And I thought right before the break, because I kind of popped that question on you about reading into 2016, and you were just able to, okay, well, let me feel into this. And that's ultimately, that's what empaths do. And so I want to talk about the role of the empaths moving in. But just right before we get there, I just would like you to explain exactly, because I think the term empath gets thrown around a lot to mean, psychic or intuitive, and it's part of that, but it's more. So I want you to start just explaining very briefly what an empath is and what they do.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I was having the exact same thought while we were on the break. So, so when there are actually two different skill sets or not skill sets, natural tendencies or gifts that I'm using, but they're very closely related. In this example of popping in and or tapping in and inquiring what 2016 has in store for us, and then feeling that in my body. So, so when that happens, when I'm receiving information from spirit, and there's a directional flow that I can feel, so I can feel the information coming down my pranic core, moving down into my crown chakra, and then down into wherever in my body I need to feel this information to correctly interpret the message. That's actually called clairsentience. So it's the ability to feel the messages coming directly from spirit. So that's a little bit different than the empathic gift. So the empathic gift is picking up energetic information through feeling from our external environment. So that could be other people. It could be from animals. It could be from stones or crystals. It could be from plants. It could be from water, the air itself, the earth itself, etc. So like anything outside of you, that's using the gift of the empath.
Okay. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
If this is considered being coming from the gift of the empath. So when I connect with people, so for example, I went into my office the other day and I could feel that the energy had shifted. And as I connect to that, I can feel that it had shifted with a specific person. And I could tell that she was not where she's normally at energetically. Is that something or is that just me? I like to think of it as kind of downloads, but is that in a sense part of the empathic gift?
I would say that experience was more clairsentience. So can you describe to me what you felt, like specifically how that felt in your body?
See, the way that I would describe it is it's just a knowing. I don't feel it in my body. I just know that things have shifted. It's not in its discordant energy and it's not in resonance, but I don't feel that necessarily in my body.
Okay, so that is more claircognizance.
Yes, that's
the knowing, and I like to put wahaha on the end of that. The knowing. And but you did have an element of clairsentience going on there as well. So it was a combination of the two because you were sensing how she is feeling or was feeling at that moment. So you had both going on. The claircognizance was stronger for you than the clairsentience in that particular moment. But that was not empathic. So empathic would be like I would tap into you directly. And there are a number of ways that we can do that, which I actually teach people how to do in a class that I offer called Empath Development Class. We could talk more about that later, maybe at the end or something. Okay. So when let's say I was tapping into you right now, then I would very intentionally focus on receiving information about how you feel in my own body. And it might be things that you're aware that you're feeling, or you might be totally unaware that you're feeling. But what I'm asking for is, what is relevant for Angela to know or for me to assist her with right now? And so then I will get those feelings. And so it's almost as if I'm wearing your body as a suit over or even intertwined with my own. So I actually feel what you're feeling in my own body. And it will feel like, let's say, like I might feel pain in the liver. And knowing that, now I've just consciously asked to experience Angela, and I know that my own liver is not hurting right now. When that shift happens and there's discomfort in the liver, then I know that that is you and not me. And so then, from that, then I may ask some other questions to determine, is this, is it her physical liver that is, in a state of unease, or is this more of an emotional situation? In Chinese medicine, the liver processes anger and frustration. So knowing that information, that's a typical question that I would ask about what information is the liver trying to convey right now? Is this a spiritual issue? Are you corded? Is somebody else corded into your liver and wanting you to feel how angry and frustrated they are with you? So these are just things that I've learned over time of knowing that I'm an empath and just cultivating this practice of being an empath and using it as a way to understand what's going on with somebody and assist them in their healing. So that's something else that I teach to other people, how to give them that information and how to do that. And then we would go about using healing gifts. And most empaths are also healers. I'm not going to say all, because I always encounter exceptions. So that's one of those always never things. But there's always an exception. So anyways, that's how an empath operates.
So I do want to talk about the roles, but now after listening to you, I have a whole bunch of follow-up questions that I need. Okay. So you had even talked about before the break that as you feel stuff in your body, that you have been able to, over time, associate those sensations with meaning. So you talked about traditional Chinese medicine, and I know you're familiar with the chakra system. And so do you kind of accumulate that information from those sources, or do you just really let your intuition or your guides or whatever the case may be say that this is what it's associated with for this person?
It's a combination of both. So, both of those skills, so being able to learn would be a skill set through reading or observation, or just through making associations from my own experiences, or, seeing a commonality between a whole bunch of different clients that I've worked with over time, and, drawing certain conclusions from those commonalities. So I might, gain that information that way. And, sometimes I will stumble upon something that is new to me, or a sensation that I haven't picked up before, or, none of what I already know is just not a fit for what that person is experiencing. Then the information will come in intuitively. And I actually have another tool that I use, because being an empath is kind of confusing. And so I have a tool that I use to help me get really, really clear on the information that's coming through. And it also is an excellent tool in helping me make sure that my own external and internal influences and beliefs are not impacting the information that's coming through. That's one of the biggest challenges that I've had in working with some, not all, other psychics is they get influenced by their own belief systems in the message that they provide to you. So I noticed that, I was like, this is super, super important. I've got to make sure that I'm as clear as I can possibly be, no matter what's going on in my life, when I'm working with somebody. And so the tool that I use is a pendulum. And so I've just, it took me about 2 years to master the pendulum. So it was pretty frustrating at times because it wasn't doing what I wanted to do, but I learned how to use it. And so it helps me to be clear. So it helps me to, in the example that you're giving me, understand or know when I can utilize the information that I've already gained versus when I really need to get quiet and tune in to spirit and see if there's something new that needs to come through. So with my pendulum, it's just really easy, and it lets me know which way I need to go very, very quickly.
So another thing that comes up then as I'm listening to that can be very confusing, especially for people who are maybe have the gifts of being an empath and don't really know that they're an empath. Being able to feel, how was that something that you really needed to learn, being able to learn what's your stuff and their stuff?
Yes, and I'm still learning. Yes. So, oh gosh, when I first woke up, being an empath was the first thing that I understood about myself. Like that was the defining moment of being awake or asleep or conscious or unconscious, although I really don't like to use those terms because I find there's some judgment in them. Everybody's somewhere on the spectrum of awakening or consciousness. So although I didn't have the term empath at that time, somebody else, a woman who's an empath and a healer and a psychic, she provided me with that. And I was like, oh, okay, that fits. So when I first realized that I had something extra going on, it was that I realized that I was able to feel what other people were feeling. And so I started having these experiences where I would be like, oh, I think I'm feeling Joe right now, and he has a really upset stomach. And then like 2 seconds later, Joe would be like, oh my gosh, my stomach hurts so bad. I'm like, holy cow. How did that just happen? How did I know that? And so once I allowed myself to believe that, yes, this was really happening to me, I was really feeling what people were feeling and it was accurate. And then I just had like this huge flood of memories about all the other times, or at least the major times that this had happened in my life. So this has always been there.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have so many more questions, and we still are going to get to the specific role that the empaths have at this time. That will be coming up very next when we return here on Entanglement Radio with my special guest, Lisa Martin Naimi. We'll be right back.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the Internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
The name is Bond. James Bond.
No, the name is Joe. The Joe Show. And we are returning back for our 9th season here on OMTimes Radio. So tune in every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on OMTimes.com/mobile. You can take us wherever you go. Yeah!
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of the Inspired Parenting Radio Show, where every week we bring you empowering information from the diverse fields of conscious parenting, education, neuroscience, consciousness, health, and metaphysics to support you in nurturing the best in your children. So if you're interested in understanding what shapes your children's minds, spirits, and hearts, join me every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and prepare to be inspired.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Of the empath and empath development. So now I feel like we fully understand what, kind of how the sensitivities and what an empath feels and those sorts of things. So what do you think is the empath's unique role at this time?
I find that there are 4 different things that the empath is working with on the planet at this time. And so the number one, we're here to clear discordant energy from all energy fields we encounter. And so for most of us, this is happening unconsciously. And our energy fields just have this template interwoven in them, like an interface, and that template is just clearing and clearing the discordant energy. So it's like transmuting it or neutralizing it, taking it from a fearful, painful state into something that is neutral and can be utilized for something else, hopefully something positive that helps everybody, or at least a relief in the density that we experience here. So that's number one. Number two, we're here to increase the emotional intelligence quotient of humanity. So the people who live with me, my family, I need them to be able to learn how to live in a manner that is gentle when they're occupying the same space as me. Because if they're not gentle and if they have a lot of discordant energy within them, a lot of anger, they make a lot of noise, they're involved in things that are of a lower vibrational frequency, activities and whatnot, I feel all of that and it's really painful for me. And so what I'm doing is through living with me, they are learning how to be more aware emotionally and energetically of what they're involved in and the energy, the emotions, the consciousness that they're presenting to the outside world. So, and so that just happens not only with people who are living with me, but friends and then clients I work with. So, all of this is an opportunity to train everybody to tap into their emotions more clearly and be more aware of them. And so we have a greater understanding of how we impact one another. And so that leads me to point number 3, which is we're here to train other humans to be self-aware about the impact of their choices, words, and behaviors. And number 4, we create a gentler world that paves the way for the exponentially increasing sensitive beings to come. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I certainly have. And there are lots of articles, lots of people are talking about this, that the children who are coming in, the babies that are coming in as they're moving into childhood, and we're getting to know, their proclivities and their gifts and, where they need assistance, that they're just more and more sensitive. And so as, adults, we have got to be paying more attention to anything that would create disruption for these increasingly sensitive beings that are coming in. So whoever's here now, the beings that are coming in the future are going to be even more sensitive. So this can indicate why there's a rise in environmental sensitivities to toxins, let alone just the number of toxins that are present in our environment, food sensitivities, noise sensitivities to what is broadcast in social media, on the computer, over the internet, et cetera. So there are many ways that we need to address this.
Wow. Yeah. Because, I kind of was looking at all of those sensitivities from more of a place of just what we're putting out in our environment and the way that we produce our food and through vaccination, through all sorts of things, we're introducing new toxins. And so I just kind of just thought that was a product of our polluting and creating an ever more toxic environment. But that makes sense as well. It's probably a little bit of both of in that conversation.
Well, I think they feed one another. So the toxic environment creates these long states of or enduring states of emotional density, which creates enduring states of physical density or unwellness and unease. And so they all feed each other. So when we address one, then the others are also positively affected. Thank goodness.
Well, that was kind of, my next question is, so when I do my work, because I would not consider myself an empath, like you said, Claire, cognizant, I can't turn off, like I gave that example of walking into a room, and I can feel that energy and the way that it shifts and if it's dense or not. But when I do my readings for people, which I do offsite because of what you said, that people have a lot of expectations. So usually I have a name and that's all I know about the person, and I do my reading. And so there's no opportunity for my mind to get, or my beliefs to get involved, because I have no other information that creates a narrative around that. But so what I found is that, oh my goodness, I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, so what I was going to say is that, so when I just notice things like situational things, the energy is very dense and closer to our material world, I can't turn that off. But when I want to connect with people's higher self or those kinds of things, it's a very specific ritual and stuff. So I can turn it off and on if I want. But can you do that with your sensitivities and the gifts of being an empath?
That is extremely challenging for me. And so there are times when I can do that, or I can do it for a limited period of time. But then I need to retreat into my private, quiet space of silence and to really be able to process and release any remaining density from the experience that I just encountered. As an empath, empaths we're very, very porous. Our energy fields are porous. And it's like the boundary of our energy field is really, it's just fuzzy. It's not well defined. And it's also like we're just inherently merged with everything. And so we are picking up and feeling, we're feeling whatever's going around us. And it's not always negative. Sometimes it's really, really positive and awesome. So we'll pick up on that as well. Not just the hard stuff, the uncomfortable stuff. But it's just, it really gives a new not definition, but a nuance to the concept of oneness. And so that is that we're all really just of one giant consciousness, and we're all deeply intertwined, and we're all more alike one another than we really know. And that just isn't human to human, but anything and everything is included in that. And so empaths, like their boundary between themselves and other is pretty porous, and there's a lot of information being actively exchanged. So the times when things get really, really confusing is when either you forget to put your shields up, or your shield is just insufficient for the situation, or no amount of shielding is going to prevent that information from an energy from flowing in and having an experience of it. That's the really confusing part of being an empath. And I've known that I'm an empath for 9 years now. So there's that 9 number. And I'm still working on that. So, now I know, okay, I'm an empath and I know these things happen. And so when I get really overwhelmed, or let's say I'm like eating dinner and all of a sudden I'm just hit with anxiety, or I get terrible back pain, it's just like very sudden, like where the heck did that come from? Now I know one of the questions I need to ask myself is this mine or does it belong to somebody else? And usually when it's just like this sudden shift out of the blue, I'm picking up somebody or something else. And then I can go through a process of inquiring, okay, whose is it? And now I need to extricate that for myself because I can't function with carrying around this person's pain. So I need to help them to transmute it and heal it and process it. And sometimes that's happening consciously through conversation, and sometimes it's happening unconsciously. They don't know, but I'm feeling it, so I got to take care of it so I can move on with my day.
Well, that seems like a lot of responsibility.
It really is. I really enjoy silence and being in my house. So that's a really important tool set for an empath, is to be able to create that space of silence and quiet and that zone where you can just be alone. And it's a tool for healthy living for anyone who's an empath or thinks they might be, to give it a try and see how that clears up your mental and emotional space. I take interactions with others in small doses, or I prepare myself beforehand, or I know that I need time. Sometimes you can't always be prepared; it just happens. But then I know I need time afterwards to clear myself out, so I can just be. So it's just me in here again.
So do you ever worry about taking other people's stuff on, like when you can feel it? We know that, but if you don't clear it out, does that then become amalgamated to your own energy field?
It doesn't become necessarily part of me, like something that I can't remove. So most of the time, with the training that I've had and the amount of focus that I've put on being an empath and a healer and teaching others to do it, I have a considerable bit of knowledge around that and a considerable set of tools and skills to be able to work through all of this. But even still, I can't do all of it by myself. And so I do have other healers that I seek out to help me see what I am not able to see.
All right. Well, when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about shielding and protection. And maybe you have a short exercise to take us through to help us connect more with our empathic side. So we'll talk about that more with Lisa Martin Naimi when we return.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
brought to you by Hestia Health, creating calm minds, open hearts, inspired lives. If you'd like to learn more, get an intuitive reading or a conscious weight loss or my inspired and empowered program, you can find out more at hestiahealth.com. So, Lisa,
Yes.
let's imagine that somebody invited you out for their 45th birthday party, and you know that it's going to be at a very busy pub, and it's loud, and there might even be a band playing, and it's packed full of people. What would you do? First of all, would you go? And second of all, what would you have to do in order to protect and shield yourself for that event?
Well, whether or not I would go, I actually tune in and ask my guidance if that's the right, situation, setting, opportunity for me. And although, sometimes there are some obligations and in life and we just need to say yes and go. But in that case, I would, tune in and I would ask, how is this going to affect me if I go? And then I'll, get these feelings in my body that are going to show me how I'm going to feel. And if it feels really awful, painful, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm sorry, I can't come." But it might feel really, really great and exciting. And I might know that I'm going to make some really wonderful connections, or deepen existing connections with people. And it might be just awesome. So, but with the loud music and a lot of people, then, I would take some steps to shield myself just to help me to kind of shore up my very porous, energy field and make that a little stronger so I can just focus on having a good time instead of having to monitor my energy field the whole time. And so shielding, oh my gosh, I have learned so many shielding techniques. I've even forgotten many of them, but there are so many resources about learning shielding techniques. Some of them are very simple. Some of them are very complex. At this point, I use more of a complex one, but I can share a very simple technique that I use. And I actually have on my website a free 20-minute guided meditation that helps you to get yourself cleared out and shielded for just everyday interactions, or you can also use it as a preparation to begin exploring your own ability as an empath. And would you like me to go through the steps of that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, so just really quick, the first thing that you do is you get grounded. And so doing that, all you're doing is focus consciously, intending that you are sending your energy your energy down into the earth and getting plugged into the earth. Now, some people do it a little bit differently. Some people don't plug into the earth. Some people just plug into their own root chakra or maybe connect to their planet, or there are lots of ways to do it and get really creative. But just for basics, just plug into the core of the earth. And so if you're sensitive, you can often feel this or have a knowing of it, or even if you're clairvoyant, you might see it. If you're clairaudient, you might hear a vibration of that happening. But even if none of that's happening and you're like, I don't think I'm doing anything, nothing's happening, the more that you practice using your imagination and just allowing yourself to believe that, yes, this is happening, the more likely it is that eventually, before too long, you're going to have an actual real experience of this happening. And, it'll show up in whatever way you're able to say, yes, that was real. So don't worry about that. So just use your imagination and just go, okay, how would this feel, or what would this look like if I were to ground? And you can do that with any type of exercise like this. So we send our energy down into the core of the earth, and then I bring it back up into my body. So now I'm filled with earth energy. And I just wait a moment and okay, yep, I feel a shift. I feel a little bit different now. I feel that solid groundedness of the earth. Okay, now I'm going to connect with my source or my eternal self. So I'll send that up out of my pranic core. Not that I think my eternal self is outside of my body, but I don't. I don't think that at all. I think I'm intertwined with it. But anyways, so it's just for the purposes of the exercise, we send the energy up our pranic core, shooting out through the crown to wherever you perceive your source to be. So I always feel like I've hit a ceiling, like there's a little bit of pressure on the top of my head, and that lets me know I've reached my source. My source could just be the outermost reaches of my energy field. And so from there, now I bring that energy back down into my physical body. there it is. And so I just like, oh, there's a little shift. It was pretty subtle, but I feel even better now. Like my chest feels more expanded. I can breathe a little bit more deeply. And then we can do a real quick clearing on our energy field. So I just open up a little drain at the bottom of my energy field, just using my imagination and my intention. And I bring down some white light from source. I just kind of spiral it, almost as like I'm flushing the toilet, like the water's spinning like that. And I just allow that spiral of water to clear out my energy field, just letting it go wherever it needs to go to clear it out. Send all that gunk down through the little drain I opened at the bottom. And when that's cleared out, close up that hole, stop the spinning. And then we can create a shield. So just very simple shield is using white light. So again, I'm going to bring that down from my source, the outermost reaches of my energy field, down through my crown into this body. And then you can expand it out from your heart, for instance, or solar plexus or sacral chakra. Those are 3 areas that people typically use. They're all great. One isn't better than another. And just using your imagination, allowing this white light to permeate through your body. And so like you're in like an egg-shaped orb of white light, and allowing that to extend out to the outermost reaches of your energy field, wherever you perceive that to be. It could be an inch away from your physical body. It could be 100 feet or more, whatever feels comfortable for you. And now I'm setting the intention, so this is very, very important, that I am shielded. That's the most important thing of all. You could really just go, I am shielded, and walk out into the world and go do your thing. But for most of us, having that mental process to go through makes it more real and believable for us. And so that's what I would do to navigate that kind of situation. And then when I would get home, I would check myself to see if I need to clear anything out.
So in that, so as you were kind of guiding us through that, I'm doing it. And, as you said, you could feel the energy coming up to the earth, and I could feel where, that ceiling was when you said bringing up to kind of your essence, your source.
Yes,
yeah.
Great.
And so that in itself helps you connect with your empathic gifts.
Absolutely. Yes. And you really can't wear that out. The more you do that, the stronger that it gets. So you're just like it's like you're creating a new habit, or a samskara, which is a Sanskrit term. And I perceive those samskaras, those the definition is habituated ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And so energetically, I see them as grooves etched into the mental and emotional bodies. And so, there are some grooves that are negative, or they're unhelpful patterns or habits that we have, but then there are others that are positive, so they can go either way. So this would be an example of creating a positive groove, and the more that you do it, the stronger it gets and the more natural it becomes, until it's just the easiest thing in the world and you don't even think about it anymore. You're just, I want to ground, I want to connect, bam, I'm there.
So do you think that to some degree we all we're all empathic? Or do you think that that is something, first of all, that you have a natural gift and ability towards, and second of all, it's something that you can develop, but very purposefully and deliberately?
I would say most people are empathic. There might be, a few groups who are not, like maybe a sociopath doesn't have the ability to feel what other people feel, right? That's part of one of the definitions of a sociopath. So I would say that people who are in that kind of category, that unfortunate category, that's just tragic. They're not empathic, but that's a very small percentage of the population. So the majority of us, yes, we are empathic. We all are to some degree aware in some way of what is going on around us, and unconsciously or consciously we have an awareness and we're affected by it. What was the third question you asked me? Well, can we develop this?
Yes, which I think you've explained. So we only have a couple minutes left. So I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to share your website. You have an empath development class. Are you planning on holding that again sometime soon?
Yes, I'm going to hold that again on February 2nd. And it's actually, I have it called Empath Development Class, but it's actually a workshop. So I'm going to change the name of that today. So it's 5 weeks, and we meet for 2 hours each week. So you get a total of 10 hours of time with me. And so I teach you how to empathically connect and read other people. And we do a little bit of healing work as well. So you get teachings and lots of hands-on practice of being read and then reading other people empathically. And we can allow some of the other gifts to come in as well. We really want to focus on the empath, though. So all it really takes to develop your empathic abilities is the desire, the intention, and the focus to work with those with that ability that 98% of the population has.
So mention your website.
LisaMartinNaimi.com. And the class is under Alchemy Academy Classes Empath Development. So you can follow that link.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the program. I learned so much today, and it sounds like a lot, and I'm interested in learning more. So maybe I'll be taking your class too soon. So.
Awesome. Thank you. And by the way, it's not updated right now, but the class and the ability to enroll will be updated later on today.
All right. Sounds awesome. This will be played 5 other times during the week. So if you're listening to a replay, you can just go and enroll. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for being on the program today. I always enjoy speaking with you.
Thank you, Angela.
All right. So coming up next week, we have Tony Burrows, and he is a best-selling author, and we're going to be talking about intention and the highest good. And he talks about intender circles. He's just the guy that we talk to about this. So if you need to get a hold of me, you can email me at angela@hestiahealth.com. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Hestia Health and Entanglement Radio. And you can hear me live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern right here on OMTimes Radio. This is Angela Levesque wishing you love and light. I'll see you next week.